Yeah, I think this is, I'm also
We're
not
going
very
live
good.
now.
Okay.
Oh, did I give you a notification? But nobody's seeing it yet, probably.
Okay, so we shouldn't be going yet?
No. I'm gonna. I'll write in the chat when we're
Going live
ready.
now.
Yes. But did I give you a notification? But nobody's seeing it yet. Did you hear that back?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's up on YouTube now. So if you guys want to go, just be quiet for a moment, and then I'll chat. I'll write in the chat when it's posted to Facebook.
Alrighty. Welcome, everyone. I am Jennifer Marie Young, and I am so honored and grateful for this opportunity to talk with my friend, colleague, and mentor, Naoko Maeshiba, about her upcoming course with Michael Chekhov, which begins on July 13th. And it's her Body Mind Lab online somatic classes. And Naoko Maeshiba is an amazing artist and creator and faculty member of the Michael Chekhov School. She's also a somatic educator and practitioner. Welcome, Naoko.
Hi, Jen, how are you? Thank you so much for interviewing me.
Oh, my pleasure. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit about how you came from your journey as a performer and director and teacher of dance and theater, and how you came to somatic practices and creating this work, this mind-body lab work.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. That's a very intriguing journey for me because, as you know, that I've been in the performing arts field for about 3 decades now, and I was always interested in body and physical aspect of performer and performance. So I did a lot of different kinds of physical practices, and I was acquiring, I mean, you name it, physical theater like Grotowski, Japanese no theater, Balinese theater, Buto, Western modern dance like Limon technique, I was really drawn to the physical expression. So that was my focus in all the time, in creating and in teaching. And yeah, also in everyday life, but I've been really physical. I'm a physical person. So, but how I came to the somatic practice specifically, it started about 10 years ago. And this is a time that I was going through some change in my life, facing some challenges. And I was also hitting some wall in my teaching, wall, like I was hitting the wall, I was not going to a new place. And I started really wondering about what it is about. And what I was realizing was that the connection between the body and mind, in this case, particularly emotions. Now, a lot of people talk about emotions and how to handle emotions, how to use emotions, etc., in performance. And about some years ago, my friend would ask me, "So are you meditating? Do you meditate?" And then I would say, "No, I'm performing, I'm rehearsing, I'm dancing. That's my meditation." So I said that for years. Then I started realizing that I wasn't really doing deep work with the mental capacity, mental realm of myself. And that could be the reason why I'm not breaking into the new places in my work. So, but I was still like, okay, I'm doing it. Body, yes, let's just do everything. I'm fine. I feel gooey. Some emotions come up. The energy is moving. This is great. But what I noticed is that the performance or the rehearsals or whatever is not as big as other parts of the life. So in terms of the ratio, there's a much more living time than performing time. And how these other parts are affecting actually, my performance time. So I started sort of, this was very much at the back of my mind, and then, like with a lot of other people, I'm very happy. I'm so excited. I enjoy rehearsals and performance so much that I wish I could be doing it all the time, But then when I go back to the other part, it's not that at all. So there's a huge discrepancy. And this, in the end, was not very healthy for me. So I was searching for some kind of practice that could bring this together. Then I started studying Feldenkrais and other somatic work. And then I thought, this is very interesting, Okay, so in theory, you bring what we think separate, body and mind, which are really not separate, but you bring them together because they're actually one. So you don't need to even have to bring them together because they're actually one thing. But I just, I kind of knew, but I wasn't actually really doing it in every moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this happens in performance, we are so heightened awareness, and but to maintain this in everyday life was so difficult that I was not doing it. So that was my main motivation, is that I wanted to dig into deeper into how the body, mind, and also spirit, how are these things working together, or how are they just one thing,
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started doing a somatic practice.
Can you say a little bit more about what you felt was different about the everyday life versus being on stage? Like, does it feel like you're two different people, or how do they different from each other, and how did you bridge that gap?
Yeah. So when you go onto stage, you're in some kind of sensory heightened place that your sensations are so heightened. and you can hear things that you might not hear in everyday life, so heightened. You can feel the air particles. You can sense every movement on stage. You can sense audience. You're just really so sensitive, such a heightened place, which we most likely are not living in everyday life. We have a lot of other practical things that we need to solve, we need to do, and we are so much in our heads, and then we forget to sense, we forget to breathe, we forget to treasure, this pleasure of being in the moment. We talk so much about in the moment, but I must say that I didn't really know what that meant until pretty recently. But I think when you're on stage, you are more likely to be in the moment because of that heightened urgency place, So that to me is a difference, but it could be a continuum, So towards the end of, I think it was 2018, that my goal became, okay, I just want to walk in from everyday life to on stage. I'm just going to perform, because I'll be practicing in everyday life, whatever I'm doing, so I'll be washing dishes, and next moment I want to go on the stage and do it. And so my last piece, my last piece I did in 2018 was created with that on mind. And yeah, so that is a bridge between the life and art. Yeah.
So you're bringing more sensitivity into your daily life, or you're trying to minimize the sensitivity that you have as a performer, or trying to find some kind of balance?
It's like a scale. It's a scale, So I said sensitivity, but I mean like awareness, awareness of everyday moment in every part of my body, awareness of every moment of the space, awareness of connection, So it's all this sensing, and bringing awareness to different places. And you can, I'm sure if you're an actor, you would know that you can magnify it, you can minimize it, freely. So even in everyday life, I could totally maximize my sensation if I want to. And there's actually a lot of stimuli, whether you like it or not. And with your imagination, you can create environment. This is a crazy part. With your you can imagine anything, and you can throw yourself into that imagined place, right? So you don't need to be on stage to experience. You can totally do this everyday life. This is what I tell my students. Practice, because you can. You can totally practice in every day. Yeah. So scale. Yeah.
And what were you seeing in your students that highlighted the need for this work? Or when you were working with performers, how are you what were you seeing that led you to want to bring this work to them?
Yeah. So I taught young actors for a long time, and also worked with more matured actors, more, like older actors. And there is a degree difference between these two groups, young emerging actors and then already seasoned actors, who have already established technique and all of these things. But overall, in my teaching, what I was realizing is that you cannot put it on top of you. I mean, they go and acquire this technique, that technique, stage combat, yoga, and there's nothing wrong about doing this. But I really believe that you need to go inside first, before you inform you from outside. You need to filter through you in doing everything. because I was, I was directing my students, and so I'd be teaching them, this is okay, let's just move this and that, and then the choreograph, and they would enact this choreograph, they would learn, that's one great way of learning. But it was, they did not retain it, It's experience, they acquired it, but they didn't retain it very much. Then, so that's one thing I noticed in teaching. And another thing is that I was making original pieces of work, but I often also directed scripted work, plays. So in doing plays, actors make some kind of choices. There are lines that they memorize, they speak. They have character, they create character, and all of that. And a lot of times with young actors, the choices they were making were mostly predictable, and there are not so many options. So then I wondered why that's the case, and I realized that they're influenced by what they have seen in the past. Whether it's TV or film, or such and such actor is doing this, And surprisingly, also faculty would be asking them, tried like this actor or this, character. So no wonder what this original thing doesn't come out of each person. And some students would say things like, I like being on stage and creating and performing because I can disappear into the character. And that really shocked me, because I think you actually appear through the character and you don't disappear. So, but I learned how these young students were thinking, and that really motivated me to okay, I need to do that, and then start really from themselves, really, really from themselves, I mean, in acting classes, you often hear that everything is inside of you, use your emotions or experience everything. But they were really not doing it, they were not doing it. So they would bring a scene that they were studying, and okay, I said, okay, let's just see how it goes. They do it exactly as they have learned it, exactly. And it's different space, different people, different situation, but they do it exactly how they learned it. And this was amazing. So I said, okay, so now let's just crawl around and do this. And they also, nothing changes. It's also the same. So when the body changes, their speaking doesn't change. So I just felt like, well, I need to really do some deep investigations here. So that motivated me to teach this class, that teach these principles of body, mind, spirit integration. Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the principles? And you were just talking about in different environments they were doing the same thing. So how is the environment important in taking that information in when you're performing, or even just in normal day life? Is that part of the principles that you teach?
Yes, because in everyday life, that's how we speak, that's how we connect with each other, is through how we sense and feel, right? Sense and feel. What we ate in the morning affects how we feel, and how we talk to the sales clerk, I mean, this is very basic human. So when we bring human life onto stage, why you not do that? Somehow just everything just stops, and there's this it's fabricated thing, you are told to live an imaginary life, truth or something. I don't have the quite wording, I've said it many times, but in imaginary life you are enacting, you're living truthfully. But I saw that there's no paying attention to space, right? So then when I'm creating space is everything. Everything starts from space for me, space and body, space and body, space and body. So even if I'm reading a script, imagining the space and, okay, how is this his body in the space. And so I brought that out, this connectivity. So in Body Mind Lab, we emphasize on connectivity. That's the first principle we emphasize, and this is a connectivity on 3 levels to make it simple. One is a connectivity within the body, so it's different parts. So your head and pelvis, or the very top of your spine to the very bottom. Your tongue and your diaphragm and your pelvic floor. Your fingers to your spine. I mean, all these places are connected. So the first level is, let's just bring this connection back. When you're a baby, you knew all of this, without even knowing about it. I mean, so let's bring it back and see what happens. So that's the first level of connectivity. Now the second level, now they're not hierarchical, they're all happening at the same time, is the body-mind connectivity. And this is also very simple. It's something like a really simple example is, for instance, if I'm crouched down like this and looking down, it's very hard to speak about something bright, something joyful. I'm already kind of feeling sad and, anxious, maybe, a little bit, down. And my body is also closed in, my heart is closed in. And I come back here and I feel differently. Now I raise my head and my eyes look towards the ceiling, and then I open my hands like this. And then all of a sudden I feel something in my lower belly, and I start feeling like I want to kind of maybe laugh, So this is very, very simple, but we have this innate signaling connection that we have forgotten about it, Now, actors, maybe this is different for different directors, but they're usually blocked. There is this thing called blocking, and they're blocked. And, you go towards the table, can you turn, when you go around, I mean, maybe not like this in Michael Chekhov, but there's some kind of physical score. Physical score. And the physical score is actually, physical score and speaking and feeling are all happening at the same time. So there's a bit of this artificial process to creating work, but even within that, you can bring in this as much natural connection as possible. But for you to do that, you need to constantly bring attention, because this is something they're forgetting, Mm-hmm. So there's feeling, sensing, moving, thinking. These 4 actually happen at the same time, but thinking is so heavy, it's so heavily thought through that the sensation falls through. Feelings are kind of at the behind, movement is like completely disconnected. This is why you look at you see a lot of actors from head up and then doing this, what we call windmill hands or something. This top, because they don't know, and they say, I don't know what to do with my hands, So anyways, that was a long answer.
No, I wanted to make sure you got all the principles in there. It was wonderful.
Also, the third connectivity, sorry, that was the second. So there's a third one, which goes back to what you're talking about, is a space. So now we connected within the body, mind and body together. And now you are a part of the environment, you and I, and me and the space. Yeah. So when you're connected with space, when you train your sensations, so well that when you go into the shadow, then you would feel differently, and you would, of course, speak differently. I once worked with actors who are very sensitive to lighting. So when the technical rehearsal starts, her performance perks up usually because she's so heightened with the lights. I think this happens to certain, most people to a certain extent, but something like that, yeah, the space and body. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels very layered. And I know, in the time that we were working together, the pieces that we were creating were in different venues. It might be the same piece, but it would become completely different depending on the location we were in. And you would have us really work with that and really notice how we're affected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did some site specific also, the same piece we did in the theater. And, site specific work, of course, that you really think so much about the relationship, you want to be like already, you came out of that place, instead of like you're putting something created into that space and have no relationship. The space is there before you are, so you always start from the space. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So I love that idea of connecting with the space that you were
Yeah.
talking about, that connection idea. And I know for myself, in taking your workshop this last year, especially the eye workshop, I found working with connecting the eyes to certain parts of the body and then having another connection created that really kind of brought up my body's history. So, for example, in your eye workshop, you had us imagine having an eye on the back of our head and then relating to different parts of the body with that eye. And I could viscerally feel the sensations of some head trauma that I had experienced. And I found that really interesting, and I found I really had to rest afterwards. It was like my body was reprocessing that. So could you talk a little bit about that and what you've seen people experience with that?
Yeah. So with this body, mind, love work that people have a really very deep experience. Some people go through a whole journey through this work, but especially this eyes, seeing is a dominant sense that we have used for years and years and years, and it is dominant because we process life through seeing, through eyes. And so people naturally store a lot of emotions, a lot of memories in your musculature, and about seeing an eye. So a lot of things could come out of it. Some people who are so eye focused that I can tell actually by meeting people, like when you meet somebody, you see that, oh, this person's energy is very much in the eyes or much in the shoulder or stomach or whatever. But I could feel some people have very, very strong eyes, like strong presence. And these people often the time have actually a bit of challenge doing any simple eye movement, because their eyes haven't been moving so much. I mean, we have actually really we have a lot of peripheral vision. When you do that, you can see like, oh, I can see as much as this, as much as, at least really they're 180 degree. But because our eyes moved from the back to like the side to here, that people's peripheral visions have so narrowed. And now especially it's so centralized, it's so forward. So these people, eyeball haven't moved much, for months and months. So when they do the work, it's very difficult, but it's good because it's addressing it. The work is addressing whatever you haven't been able to look at. Let's just say that, you know. I mean, we have in whole selves that we have such rich treasure, you know, but there are a lot of parts that are locked in, and opening that is scary, but that is your resource. Yeah. So I think doing eye work is great for everybody, really. Yeah.
So you're just talking about the resource. Can you say a little bit more about that? Like, how does that resource you?
So first thing that I want to bring attention is a self-image. So self-image is how we feel who we are, how we feel what kind of person we are, you know, and it's constructed by several different, at least, you know, elements. And one is, of course, that you look at the mirror, you kind of know how tall are you, you know, how's the shape or face or whatever, you know, it's like, oh, I look like this, I'm a tall person, I'm a short person, I'm a big, I'm chunky, my breast is big or butt is small or whatever, you know, you have. So create this self-image, and you walk around, when you walk around, you don't have a mirror to be looking at you. So, but that's how you are thinking, you know. So that's one image differently. But separately from that, you sometimes feel big, you know, you sometimes feel small, you sometimes feel long, you sometimes feel short, you know. So there is a sensory image that you are feeling. So that's a second image. And when you look at your brain cortex, frontal cortex, that there are two strips of the skin, and one is all about the movement, the other one is all about sensations, and they are separated by different parts. So then you would look at the strip of sensation, there's a part of the eyes, the part of your elbow, part of your legs, and the area of this that each one occupies equals to the sensitivity. So when you look at the eyeballs, you'll be amazed how much for a normal person it occupies, but I'm sure it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller now. Or like your lips and the tongue, and this is huge area. So depending on your mapping, that you create your self-image, how I feel, you know, how I feel like all hands, you know, I feel like my lips, you know. So when you close the eyes, don't see anything, I feel like a lip person, or I feel like a hand person, you know. Or I certainly feel this. Or when you're talking with somebody, you know, your image, self-image might be, I'm all about the eyes, you know. Or you can still see it when you're looking and talking with somebody, and you think, oh my God, his eyes are so strong. He's like an eye person, you know. His whole existence follow his eyes, you know. So there's that kind of self-image, right? And then there's a psychological self-image. If somebody has wet hands, you know, they perspire, it was being nervous, then that's his self-image. I'm a perspiring hand. You know? So there are different ways to perceive your body. And I forgot your question. I started with something.
Well, the resourcing, how
the resource, yes, the resource. So you make all the choices based on your self-image, whether it's a choice in your life or choice on stage, you know. And that is coming out of the self-image that I just talked about, right? So the more you get to know what creates your self-image, you know, your self-image is usually very partial to the whole. You don't have, most people don't have the wholesome self-image. So this work is first going to make you acknowledge the parts that you're not aware of. And that starts with physical, right? So, oh, wow, I really don't have the sense of the second toe on my right foot. That's so interesting. You know, what does that mean, right? Or the left buttock, I have some numb sense, so I don't have the sense, you know. And the important thing is that you don't judge it, you know, and you don't panic just because you don't feel the second toe, you know, you don't panic. You just acknowledge that, okay? So by doing that, you're accepting and receiving all the parts of the treasure that you have inside of you, you know, who you are. And you are now investigating, you're studying it as is. You're studying it, you know, with good or without good or bad. So that is the entrance into the work, is to enter into yourself that way, enter into your treasure that way.
So then as a performer, you're really bringing parts of yourself more forward as a starting place.
Yes. So one thing that shocked me in teaching this, I was teaching a movement class to university actor students. They were doing quite a bit of sensation work, quite a bit of this body-mind work. And they had monologue, you know, each one of them had a monologue. So I would have them do monologue. And doing the monologue, of course, they forget. All they worried about is text, right? How to say or whatever. So then I would have them bring attention to inside sensation. Sorry, the sensation. And all of a sudden, the nuances of the text starts spilling out from inside out. You know, it doesn't matter what sensation, you know, it could be very simple. Can you feel your sits bone, right sits bone? And they're speaking, you know, and they feel their sits bone, and all of a sudden their voice gets deep, or, you know, their voice has more texture, you know. Then I would ask her, so what are you imaging? What's in there? And then they would say, like, oh, I feel like I'm in a jail inside. Okay, you just speak from that. And they speak from that. And it's dramatic difference. You know, each person's monologue became much richer and original and unpredictable. And this is the thing that we aim towards, is the vulnerability. You know, we know what's going to happen in the script, but we are performing as if we don't know what's going to happen. What is he going to do the next moment? And that vulnerability has to come from inside, you know, inside sensations, inside feelings, right? So yeah, that was really incredible. And what was more incredible is how they don't trust it. How the students just don't trust it, you know? It's so immediate, it's so ephemeral. That's why you need to catch it. That's a live theater, you know, that's the life as is happening. So when you do that, you honor the space, you honor your sensations of what is happening now. And you can bring much more life onto stage. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I've done this a lot through improvisation. Jen, you have experienced that improvisation work, and but it's to bring it to already, you have to have some kind of product, you know, but you can still bring it. You can still bring it, this type of life, you know.
Yeah. I was just recently learning about when you're relating to somebody else, in particular an intimate relationship, that you can connect more deeply to the other person if you connect to yourself first.
Yeah.
So you have to go in, and then that going in creates a space. But if you're just, you know, always focusing on the other person, or in that case lines, then there's no space for something else to be created. It sounds like that this kind of helps move through that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because this is what you said exactly, is what could happen is you're first sensing yourself, you know, just sensing, right? And then you sense the other person. So it's like a stream, you know, it was streaming through each other. So it's not like I'm here, you're here, we are conversing this way. It becomes circular. And once you realize that, then you start this, then you know what it means that your energy affects other people's energy. And then you start practicing from nearby, of course, and then you start practicing far away. I mean, this is, I guess, once called telepathy or something like that, but it's totally possible, it's totally possible that your stream, we are all energy, we are all energy. So I would address that also in the workshop. Yeah, this energy. How is it so energy, energy, how emotions are energy, how like there are multiple emotions and you could get stuck in one emotion and you're very good at it. You get cast to play that emotion. You get cast to be a same character. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then like this perpetual circle like this, life out, life out. So this is why you have to be very digging your treasure to like, I pull this out, Yeah. So
Love
yeah.
that. So I want to have you talk a little bit about what you'll be covering in the workshop, but I just wanted to invite you, if you felt the call, to share any practice. There was an exercise you wanted to take us through.
Oh, today?
Yeah, if you'd like.
Yeah, okay. So, but let me just talk about the body mind lab. That's a summer intensive. So I'll be covering first the central axis, which is your spine and your digestive pipe, particularly this time, and sensing your central axis, and then not sensing your central axis. Yeah. So then you would start finding out like, oh, I'm right side, left side, front, back, what it is to really sense central axis. Then I would move on to the eye work. Yeah, so we already talked about eye work, but the perceptual shift, what it means to be seeing really. And then I'd finish with the jaw, mouth, and tongue, because really more primal, primitive part of ourselves and how it brings taps onto the vitality. Yeah.
So needed right now, for sure,
Yeah.
since we have
Yeah.
so much head forward.
Yeah. So now I can take you through this work, and if whoever is watching this, if you're seated or if you're, I think most likely maybe seated in a chair or seated on the ground, just close eyes for a moment. And when you close eyes, something happens, and I want you to acknowledge that, something that just happened. And remind yourself that you are an organism. You are a breathing organism. And breathing means contraction and expansion. So when you breathe in, you're expanding. And sense what is moving in your body as you breathe. Continue breathing. And on your own pace, with your own rhythm, you're breathing. When you breathe, know that your lungs expand to the back more. And your lungs also come above your clavicles. It's really big. You're expanding to the right and left. Your rib cage expands right and left. And just experiment with loosening your tongue, the back of your tongue, middle of your tongue, both sides of your tongue. And when you do that, notice something happens to your body. Loosen your upper gum and lower gum, back teeth. Loosen your upper lip and lower lip. Yes, as if your lips are twice as thick as you think they are. Let the lips reveal themselves. And have some space inside of your throat and inside of your eye socket, right eye and left eye, inside of your nostrils, right nostril and left nostril. And sense your right sits bone in contact with the chair or ground. And notice how left sits bone, left one is different from right one in its sensation, in its shape. In its way of contacting the seat. Notice how your foot, right foot touches the ground. Do you have the image of all the toes? Right side, outside, inside, and heel. A complete image of right foot. You have the complete image of your left foot and the sensation of the bottom of your left foot on the ground. And as you breathe in and out, or out and in, when the air comes in, do you feel, can you imagine your diaphragm goes towards the chair seat? And when you breathe out, it goes away from the chair seat. When the air goes in, when you breathe in, the diaphragm goes near the chair seat, pushing the head towards the ceiling. Can you feel that relationship? Now pay attention to your pelvic floor, another veil. When you breathe in your air into your lung, into your body, can you feel also pelvic floor, this organism, softly pressing down towards the chair? And when you breathe out, it softly releases. It softly goes away. So be aware of these two muscle groups, diaphragm and pelvic floor and top of your head. How can you connect these three parts through breathing? And your tongue. How does tongue connect with the pelvic floor? Can you soften your tongue? And when you do that, do you feel your pelvic floor soften? Bring your attention to the largest organ, which is your skin. And as you breathe, continue breathing. Can you feel the pores of your skin start opening towards the space you're in? Electricity starts running softly throughout your body, maybe a little under your skin surface. And let the sound enter into your body, whatever sound you are hearing from all the directions. And slowly open your eyes as if you're raising your eyelashes like a curtain. Do you feel differently?
Yes, it's really intriguing. We were focusing on the sides or something in the head. I kind of lost track of what it was, but I have this sensation that I have sort of a twisting happening, like my eyes are twisting to the right.
Yeah.
And so that was fascinating. And with the pores opening, that just felt amazing. Felt like I was more alive, and then feeling the electricity even more so.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and Jen, you just mentioned that you noticed that your habit, your eyes habit. So this is something that you would notice in the group session. And I also have a private session with students, and in that, we really dig into what is lurking in your habitual tendency, like that, or the form, form of your body that you go into. Certain people have this kind of form, certain people have this kind of form, and then as I would talk with that person, work with the person, I start locating the same again and again and again, and start seeing that when that happened, in your personal history of things, and we start entangling that. And my private student told me that she's an actor, and she was able to enter into the emotionally loaded scenes with much more ease. She was so tensing up before in entering it. She said, after we explored this image with you, that I just was able to really enter. And then that gave much more options. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Naoko. We covered so much, and it's just so rich. We could talk probably for another hour or more.
Yes,
So I
yes.
appreciate it. But I wanted to ask if there was any last thing you wanted to share with our audience.
Yes. So now, as much as we try to talk about it, it is really hard to talk about it. And even with this short exercise, I mean, it's great and everything, but you only find out what it is and how you can apply it to your life and art when you take the workshop. So I really highly encourage you to take the workshop to acquire the self-knowledge, a self-practice for both your art, creativity, and your health. Yeah.
Beautiful. And that workshop will be July 13th through August 17th, Tuesdays 11 to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And there's 6 sessions. Is that right, Naoko?
Yep. 6 sessions. Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
And then for anyone who wants to work with you privately or just reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
Yes, just reach out to me. I have put my website in the description, so you can contact me through my website, and then we can start getting the private sessions. Like I have, yes, I have actors, I have a dancer, and I have other people, from Japan and Europe and US. So you can, yeah, I'm so honored and very appreciative of this opportunity. Yeah, and everybody's really benefiting from it. Yeah, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Michael Chekhov Studio, for hosting this amazing workshop. And Naoko, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing your wisdom and all that you're bringing into the world.
Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you.
My pleasure. Pleasure. All right.